Dr. Rosen, thank you very much for your time to be with us for this interview. And I would like to step in the role of the moderator and try to go deeper into what's innovation, what's low innovation, what we should understand, and what messages we can actually take from about the concept and doing the things in our business the correct way. So, uh, could you introduce yourself? You can do that better than me. What
First of
you
all, thank you for hosting me, Krasimir. It's a pleasure to join you on this podcast. I'm a managing partner at WM Global Capital, private equity firm. We are investing in early stage startups and infrastructure projects across the global south, with offices across London, Brussels, and Singapore. I'm also a board member across a long list of companies, and I'm a former chief AI officer. So I've worked for many, many years across data science, analytics, AI. People have called it many, many ways throughout my career. And I've also worked in different countries and across many industries, from fintech to maritime transportation to geoengineering to humanitarian sphere. So I've worked for most recently for UNICEF and for Progress. So my perspective to innovation and to AI is based obviously in technical knowledge that I have, but also in business perspectives and what that means from the point of view of return on investment, and also return on our future, right? What that means for humans in general, and what kind of future we want to build, and how that innovation should serve the humanity.
Well, that's very serious background. You may look at the topic from so different perspectives, which is
Yeah.
really valuable. All right, let's start. Let's start with definition of innovation. What we should understand under innovation. Every innovation starts with an idea. Is that enough? Can we call every idea innovation? Maybe potential, but it's not innovation, probably.
There are many definitions for innovation. Sometimes it's taking an old thing and using it in novel ways. Sometimes it's inventing something completely new that did not exist before. I've come across many teams and many organizations treating innovation very differently, and usually that obviously affects how they implement it across the organization, whether it's an isolated process that leaves lives in a lab and then comes to the world as a sort of prototype, or if it's streamlined across every team and across every function, and everybody is invited to be innovative. I think for all organizations, but also for humans, if we think of evolution, right, it means adaptation to new environments, to new circumstances, to new stages in your life, maybe in your career, or new stages of your business. So innovation usually comes as an adaptation, right? There is something new in my environment, in my situation. Okay, let me see how I can adapt to better fit into this environment, to live better in this environment. But also, as I'm changing, I change the environment around me. So that pull and push of innovation, that evolution, I see it as essential for every living organism, for every company, um, for people as lifelong learners. But it's also, how do we select what's innovation, right? Evolution is selective. Not every mutation, not every change becomes embedded in the ecosystem. So what is actually effective, what actually serves us, what is useful or not, I'm interested in that selection and that process. And I think this is where my interest in slow innovation comes in.
All right. Next question is, what's then slow innovation? I mean, if that's innovation, what's the
This is
difference between classic innovation or different types of innovations and what
yeah.
refer to as slow innovation?
So this is a catchy title, right? I use this to grab people's attention because everyone wants innovation to be fast and immediate, ideally, right? Silicon Valley is promoting the motto of move fast and break things. And for sure, for startups or for research-heavy organizations where consequences may be minimal, but moving fast, reiterating, brainstorming ideas is critical. This is where moving fast can be just the way to ideate and test the results and discard all the ideas that don't serve us, that are not viable. That's fine. When it comes to actual implementation, though, for most people, for most organizations, most companies, what matters is how does that change the whole environment? How does that change the whole business? How does that affect our financial results? How does it help or not help humans overall? So in the environments where consequences could be costly, and where there is a lot of uncertainty, I prefer to adapt a motto that has been popularized by the Navy SEALs, actually, in the US, and also by a lot of emergency response services. And the motto goes like this: slow is smooth, smooth is fast, right? So if our goal is to move fast, to implement things, to adapt and be innovative, then we actually need to slow down. We slow down when there is a lot of uncertainty because we don't want to take risks when things may go wrong in an unpredictable way, and we may waste resources. We may actually, I don't know, break a leg if you're a Navy SEAL and you just die for no reason. That's not fun. By going slow, we ensure that our movement is smooth, right? We remove any friction, we remove any barriers to innovation, and by removing those barriers, we move fast. What that means for organization, and especially when we are talking about technical innovation like AI, that usually means building systems that ensure maturity of organization, right? Do you have the data? Do you have the infrastructure and compute? Do you have the teams, the human capital that can use AI immediately, or do they need an upgrade? Do you have the governance? Do you have the systems that will ensure that you distribute accountability properly, and that if consequences of AI decisions or AI predictions are undesirable, all of those consequences can be mitigated without compromising your business? That is what going smooth, right? Going slow and smooth will ensure that you are actually moving very, very fast. The other thing, like when we are testing something new, right? So it's not just the situation of uncertainty, it's also when we're adapting something new. And a lot of the times we need to decide if this thing actually improves what we're already doing. A lot of AI pilots in particular, they're great as pilots, right? Everybody's testing something. But as soon as it comes to implementation, as soon as it comes to production, there is friction. There are security concerns. There is no data. It could be that old methods or alternative methods actually work better. Sometimes you need simple innovation, simple software, if then function, and that's it. You don't need a whole expensive AI system built on top of something that works in a more predictable and actually probably cheaper and faster way. So going slow, again, not jumping towards the hype, not jumping onto something just because everyone is talking about it, allow us to be a lot more selective with which features we adopt, how exactly these features improve our bottom line, which features could be immediately integrated into the organization's functions or the whole process, or something requires a major upgrade in terms of infrastructure or in terms of new databases and so on. So again, going slow in that respect, assessing your maturity, and then building a solid foundation before we start jumping and moving faster. That actually ensures that we can go much further. A lot of organizations right now are jumping on the hype because there is that fear of missing out. It's like, oh my God, what if we miss on this amazing AI journey? But in reality, what we need to be thinking about is, will your organization be there in 5 years, right? And to ensure that sustainable journey, to ensure that we have a business that will be thriving for many, many years, it makes sense to be very selective, very intentional with which innovations we adapt and how we adapt to them, right? So for me, slow innovation, even though this is a catchy word, a catchy term that I'm using, it's actually that intentional, deliberate, smooth, removing friction way of working that I hope more businesses will adapt.
All right. To me, that sounds like slow think, but adopt or implement as fast as possible once you're sure that
Once you're sure, yes,
risk
once you're sure.
is
Yeah,
low.
yeah.
So no exclusions on the risk, no risk tolerance, so to say. Think
Um, I
carefully.
think a lot of yeah, I think a lot of companies and as a cybersecurity firm, I'm sure Cyen is very proactive on this. Cybersecurity and safety concerns in general, particularly when it comes to such a complex technology as AI, they come as essential, right? You cannot build if your system is not secure. That would make no, you can build it, but you cannot use it because the cost of mistakes or the cost of compromising your system, your whole business would be immeasurable, right? So this is a little bit there is a great book called The Innovation Delusion, and that I would recommend for people who work in innovation in particular. And it talks precisely about that. Sometimes it's not just the innovation. We want to build new things, sure, but it's the maintenance, it's the integration with the existing systems, it's the support, including cybersecurity support. How would that look? Right? You've got this new thing, this new technology, great. How does it actually integrate and how you're going to maintain this for the upcoming years? That's the more important question.
Totally agree with you. Uh, well, it's when we talk about slow innovation, if one person understands that, that's great. But I mean, we're talking about teams. It's the
Yeah.
whole team that should
Mhm.
understand, uh,
Mhm.
involved with the same thinking, mission driven, so to say,
Mhm.
strategically. How do you think the team could be motivated? How the team could better understand where we are going uh, if they want to move fast to the market on one side, if we take the business team, on the
Yeah,
other side, the technical guys, they think a little different. So you
yeah,
have to bring oranges and apples,
yeah,
so to say,
yeah,
into one basket
yeah,
and move the same direction.
yeah.
What would be your approach.
I fully agree with you. I fully agree with you. It's about bringing stakeholders together, right? Because they all have reasons. Yes, there are people who want to see financial results immediately. Yes, absolutely. They are right. That's their whole job. At the same time, security guys, technical guys, they are also right. Implementation is hard. Implementation takes time, and we need to be like very careful with how actually we implement, because if we cut corners when we, I don't know, construct a building, the building will collapse and nobody would be happy. The same as with business, the same as with technology innovation. If we cut corners and ship incorrect code, nobody's going to be happy, right? We are going to compromise the same financial results that we've just delivered. But bringing stakeholders together and actually helping them to translate technical metrics into financial results, and then financial lingo into technical requirements, right? So on the one hand, security or safety or maturity of the organization, technical maturity, it's not just about costs or risks. This is how we help the business thrive. So if we are translating this into investments, we can easily show business people that actually this is what will ensure higher financial returns in the future. At the same time, for the business teams, for the business leaders, it's super important to understand that we don't want to compromise on the safety of our future returns, right? Again, we are not gunning for something that's immediate result if that result is going to kill us in the next quarter. That would be just counterproductive. So helping translate that is something that Chief AI Officer would normally do, but also like the function of the translator, I find, is getting more and more important for all leaders, whether they're technical or business. You need to be able to see both sides, and I hope that more leaders will be able to actually think in both terms, both technical and business.
Mm-hmm. Listening to you, I mean, when you have a project like this innovative project, etc., usually we think about KPIs, key performance indicators. Sounds like we have to add key quality indicators. Am I understanding you correctly? And if so, how can we actually introduce them?
Well, a huge part of my work with startups, but also in all of my previous roles with all the technical teams, is to ensure not only return on investment, right? Financial metrics, KPIs, time to market, and so on, but also like auditing AI systems from a technical perspective. Does the system actually do what we expect it to do, right? What is the accuracy? What is the inference rate? What is the compute, right? How heavy is the compute, and what would be the cost if we need to scale? Those technical metrics may sound boring to some who are not technical, but effectively, they're very easy to translate to financial KPIs, because accuracy means happier clients. Accuracy means more accurate predictions. Accuracy means better outputs. The same with the scale of compute, the same with literally everything. So translating those technical metrics and ensuring that AI audit is an essential part of business processes as well as technical processes, right? This is crucial. And I find that it's more and more crucial for senior leadership, because a lot of business owners now are responsible for AI products, and sometimes they're like, I don't know actually what's going on in this product. I haven't built it. How can I be responsible for that? Well, this is where AI audit would help, right? You would understand how the system makes decisions or produces output, then you are able to take accountability for that output of that decision. And it's absolutely vital for boards, right? For boards of directors who usually are responsible for that sustainable growth, for ensuring that the business would exist not only today, not only next quarter, but in the next 5-10 years. Making sure that we understand how the system works and what are the mitigation strategies to ensure that nothing compromises our growth. This is what's crucial for a lot of board discussions that I'm currently part of.
Okay. Innovative projects are quite a challenge. Sometimes you reach a difficult moment, which is quite discouraging. What is the fuel, so to say, to continue till the end of the project, going through all those difficult moments? What's the motivation? What's the encouragement that could be used here when we talk about slow innovation, which is longer than the immediate results you can take from fast innovation, so to say. So what's the fuel?
Again, I would not agree that slow innovation is taking more time than fast innovation, right? Ensuring that we are careful and deliberate. It's more like measure twice, cut once, but that doesn't mean that we are measuring slowly and just sitting around drinking coffee and doing nothing. Right. So slow innovation can still be very proactive and very fast. It's just taking the time to do things properly instead of just jumping off cliff. So in terms of motivation, I think, again, a lot of it is about maturity, right? If the team is ready to adapt, to take on the new challenge, if they feel supported, if they feel empowered to make those changes, then innovation can be very fast, right? Slow is smooth, very fast, right? So ensuring that removing friction and empowering the teams, and that includes both business teams and technical teams, for me, is usually a great motivator because everyone knows why we're doing this and everyone knows that we can do this, right? Taking into account their concerns, but really spelling out that once we do this, our lives would be better, right? Because we are more adapted to the new reality, to the new situation, or because we're using a better product that will improve our technical or financial results. So it could be top down, it could be bottom up. Doesn't really matter where the initiatives come from, whether it comes from the CEO and the board or whether it comes from technical teams. But I think ensuring that we know our why are we innovating in this specific moment with this specific technology, and making sure that we take the foundations really seriously, take the time to be deliberate and careful with building that foundation, securing that foundation, will make sure that our journey is smooth and is fast.
Okay, let's introduce here regulations. And we were talking about a pretty innovative area. I mean, everything is innovative. In the same time, you have regulation. It's sort of restraint in interest of the customers, of course, of the users, etc. But anyway, they're introduced in Europe, not anywhere else. And is that sort of disadvantage for the EU startups, for instance, to innovate in Europe with AI? or we should understand as competitive advantage, sort of, because what you produce would be secure for the users, so to say. Uh, how do you look at this dilemma?
You're already making a great point, and I'm going to continue on this. First of all, it's not just the EU, right? Actually, countries that do not regulate right now are going to be in a minority. So Canada, Australia, and most recently China and South Korea have introduced their own AI regulations that are more or less as comprehensive as the EU AI Act, and they certainly introduced obligations for companies, and they try to protect customers from and businesses from undesirable consequences. I think for me this is like, obviously AI seems to be this new thing, and it seems like we don't have any analogs to look at or to compare it with, which is none of this is true, right? AI is not new. It has existed since the 50s, and data science and predictive models have been integrated into business processes for the past 20 plus years. But even if we look at other industries, other types of innovation, and at how regulations have affected innovation historically, I think we will have lots of great examples. For example, I love going into a supermarket and not thinking about salmonella when buying eggs. I love going into a building and not thinking about asbestos or about fire safety, right? Why? Because I know that somebody has already thought about this. Safety standards are written in blood, as safety specialists would like to say. So the regulations are usually there to ensure that nothing bad happens, right? If we do things the correct way, or if something happens, you have mitigation strategies that will minimize the consequences and minimize the catastrophic impact. So in this sense, AI is absolutely not different from any other industry and from any other technological even innovation over the course of the human history, right? Regulations in aviation, in the energy sector, in automotive industry, they have existed for dozens and hundreds of years. You cannot tell me that regulations have killed the automotive sector, that car manufacturers have not innovated in the past 100 years. That's simply not true. So even for AI, I see that businesses, like we've already said, businesses want to know that systems produce accurate results, that they are safe and secure for their own sake, for their sake of their own business line financial results, and for the sake of their own customers. And then regulations come in across many countries, and they simply say, this is how you document the results. This is how you uh, prove to your customers and clients and partners that you've done everything right. This is how you do the audit. These are the standards for safety and for accuracy. So I think that regulations are wonderful because they simplify the job of people like us, right? They tell us how we actually prove that we've done things the right way. And innovation, well, show me one thing in the UAI Act that says if you do this, you kill such a brilliant innovation, amazing innovation. It would have transformed the world, but you cannot do that. No, nothing like this, right? And there is nothing that actually prevents companies from doing innovation that is useful, that is beneficial for the world, that is beneficial for the business, that is beneficial for humans. Let's do more innovation, and let's do it responsibly in compliance with all the regulations.
Yeah. Well, we've been through several things, but I'll just uh, designate innovation, AI, and security. And in conclusion, what's the one thing you want board members and executives know and refer to these three things at the same time? It's one thing.
One
Innovation
thing
and security.
I think what they all want and what they all ask for, in my experience, they want to know the truth, right? There is a lot of hype right now. There are a lot of promises. Every vendor is promising something. And usually they are promising amazing, incredible advancements with no risks whatsoever. All right, I would want people to pause a little bit and to make deliberate decisions based on facts, not marketing, not promises, not hype. Let's decide, is this actually useful for us? Do we have the maturity? Do we have the foundation? And if we don't, if or at least if we have not yet matured enough, what do we need to improve to get to the point where this would be useful? How does it compare to alternatives? Is it safe and secure? Right, cybersecurity. And who needs to lead this? Who will own the process of innovation, and who will be accountable for the results? Because sometimes those could be different people, but if you want to participate in the wins, you need to be able to take accountability for all the possible risks. So I see this as an opportunity for a lot of organizations, to a lot of companies, to reinvent themselves and to ensure more collaboration across business, innovation, IT, security, and so on. So I hope that they will be happy and productive, but for that, they really want to know the truth.
Well, that's great conclusion, I'd say, and want to thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I think the audience will be very happy to listen to this interview because I mean you presented all those how to say difficult matter. It's so easy to understand. So
Thank
thank
you.
you very much, Dr. Rosen, Irina, and I wish you all the best in your endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.